Hey gang, welcome to the Gill Athletics Connection podcast, where we bring you the stories of track coaches from around the world. I am your host, Mike Cunningham, and it is my honor and privilege to bring you the stories of these men and women. This week, I've got Chad Gunnelson. He is the head coach of the University of Dubuque over in Iowa. Just had a great time. In fact, literally just recorded it, so this is hot off the press. Is that what they say? Had a great time learning about Gunny's career, how he got into it. Super unique. He was a 9-year head coach now at UD and was always the head coach there. So I think you'll enjoy that aspect of what led him to become a coach and how he got to become a coach, and specifically how he runs this program there at UD. And then, of course, because it is, March of 2020, we definitely discuss what's going on in our world right now, how that's affecting coaches with the coronavirus and season and schools being shut down. So found that extremely interesting of how Gunny is really doubling down on his leadership of how he runs his program in community and family there in Dubuque, Iowa. So I think you'll enjoy this one. Please help me welcome the wise and wonderful Chad Gunnelson. All right. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
All right. We just jumped right into it, man. So, Chad, thanks for joining me here, University of Dubuque. Let's go back to the beginning and talk about your coaching career. How long have you been at Dubuque now as the head coach?
Yes, so this is my ninth season at the University of Dubuque and my 18th season overall coaching track and field. So I've been in the position. I was originally there just the head men's track coach and head men's and women's cross country coach. And then in my second year, was head of both track and cross country programs, and then have transitioned to a director role. And now we have an incredible head cross country coach who handles cross in the fall and works with all of our distance runners. And so the program's evolved a little bit, but, essentially we're all still fighting to try and win a championship. And we've had a few, but we're 9 years in.
So 9 years at Dubuque. Where were you? And you said 18 overall. Where were you the 9 years before?
Absolutely. I was a head high school coach before that. Oh. So I was at Madison East High School. It's a public high school in Madison, Wisconsin, approximately 1,800 students. And that was really my first head coaching job. So I was the head JV football coach my first year there, and then head boys and girls track coach, and had the chance to do that for 6 years before getting hired on at UD.
So are you from Wisconsin?
I am. Madison is my
okay.
hometown. So
Yeah.
born and raised in Madison, and had a chance to basically be home, stay home, and coach. And then I also owned a business. I owned a sports performance training franchise. So that was kind of my private sector, day job. And then coaching was really my mistress in the afternoon. And I'm really glad I had the chance to go and actually make a living doing coaching, because it was the only thing that I wanted to do, but something that kind of hurt my, professional growth in my business, because that's where I should have been in the afternoons, but it's not where I wanted to be. So I sold my business away and came to UD, and so that's that.
What, you said you're from Madison, and, one of the greatest schools around is UW. Of course, all the Wisconsin schools, Eau Claire, Oshkosh's, are kind of actually amazing. Did you go to college at one of those?
No, I mean, were you okay getting into a long story regarding the college path?
Hey, we are here as long as you let me be here.
All right. So very, very uncommon trip to college coaching, my college coaching position. So I originally intended to enlist in the Army. Oh. And I was going to leave basically in November, as all my friends left for college after high school. Right. And had already gotten a waiver. I had a plate and 16 screws in my leg. And
how did that happen?
Skiing accident in sixth grade.
That's so Wisconsin.
And ended up getting that plate removed. And so I had a couple other injuries that I had been through. And so I had a bunch of waivers, but I was still, in a position to go and serve my country for 4 years. I had chosen my job, Cav Scout. My first station assignment after training was going to be South Korea. And so I had the next 4 years of my life planned out and was very excited. Well, a JV or sophomore football coaching accident. One of our athletes ended up tearing my MCL, blowing out my knee. 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave. And so I got permanently disqualified from military service because I'd already used up all my physical waivers. And so I was like, well,
there's only so many.
Yep, it's time to go, it's time to go back to school. So I ended up took that year off, and I went to Southwest Minnesota State to play football. So Marshall, Minnesota. Went up there. My best friend was at MATC and couldn't pass clearinghouse, and he was very good. He was 6'3", 290, ran a 4.7, and we both went up there and were grateful for the opportunity to go play some scholarship football. And so after our first season, the whole coaching staff got fired. And we, transitioned to the new staff, basically to kind of save all of us a lot of time and me a lot of bad memories. It wasn't at all what I had originally planned on doing and wanted to do. So I went through that next season.
Was college not all you thought it would be?
No,
college football in college.
College was incredible, and college football was incredible. Like, I loved it. I loved school, was doing great in school. But the coaching staff that came in, really, I'm so grateful because they taught me so many lessons, and my position coach made me realize the type of coach that I would never, ever want to be. And so I transferred back home, went to UW-Madison for a semester, but it was just too big. 40,000 students. And
it's amazing.
And so then I transferred to Whitewater, and in Whitewater, I student coached their football team the first year that they started their national run. So 2005, that fall, I was a student assistant coach for their team, and we went to the national title game, played Mount Union, just got shredded by Pierre Garcon. I don't know if you know that name. Obviously, we know him from the NFL, but he went to Mount Union, and he was on Mount Union's team that year that we went and played them. And so from there, when I was at Whitewater, that was when I had kind of built some connections and had a chance to interview and get offered the two jobs at Madison East, both coaching JV football and then coaching track and field. So another year went by. I was doing class at Whitewater. I bought my business, and something had to give. Trying to commute to school from Madison, running my own business, and coaching sports both fall and spring. I actually dropped out of college. So figured I was my own boss, and my job security was pretty good, and I was doing what I loved. And the whole thought originally was to be a teacher and coach. And now I was both a coach and I had my full-time job. So stepped away from school, and 6 years later, spring of 2011, it was June, we were up at the Wisconsin State track meet. Who was the offensive coordinator at Whitewater when I was student assistant coaching there, was now the head football coach at the University of Dubuque. He saw me at the state track meet, and their head track coach and head cross country coach had been, being, let go or pushed out or asked to resign, or however we do things now. And so he said, "What do you think about being the next head track coach at the University of Dubuque?" And I said, "No way." I said, that I haven't finished my degree. I don't have my undergrad degree. And he said, well, you're going to get a call from our AD, and we're going to ask you to come down to campus, and we're going to find a way to work through that. So the University of Dubuque gave me my job as a head college track and cross country coach without an undergrad degree. So the first senior class that I had at UD, there were two seniors only on the team in 2012, that spring. And they both graduated before me. And then a year later, in May of 2013 is when I officially graduated with my undergrad degree. And then now this last May, is when I walked, and then in August finished my master's degree. So I've officially gotten both my degrees, undergrad and master's degree, from UD, and both of them after I got hired as the head coach. So
that's a great story of perseverance for one. Some people would look at that story and be like, man, why didn't he get his degree at Southwest Minnesota or Madison? It's like, but I hear that, it's like, man, way to stay at it. That is amazing.
Well, coaching is kind of essentially what pulled me away from school. It's like I wanted to invest my time and energy in our teams, like our football team and our track team. And that's really all I wanted to do was coach. And so, I personally felt that I made a smart decision at that time with what I, had in front of me to step away from school, and knowing that school was always probably going to be something that I would go back to at some point in time. But I expected it to be like night class, or, I never expected it to be me as a undergrad student sitting in classes on campus while being a head coach at a university. And, you have no idea like how grateful I am for the administration at UD to be willing to take that chance.
Absolutely.
To be willing to take a shot on me, and put me in that position, because I imagine a lot of them were challenged. And I know, just to be completely honest, a lot of faculty was very upset. And there were certain folks within academia at our institution, when they found out that I got hired under that pretense, that I was like, it was not an easy situation at all.
Right.
And so, it gave me perspective on how important it was for me to finish my degree, but also how important it was for me to honor the people who gave me that chance, because not many people ever would.
What do you think about that? And I think most colleges, either unofficially and some officially, require all track coaches and all coaches to have a degree. Because on one hand, it's like, there's no degree in I guess there actually are degrees in coaching now, but you can definitely be a successful coach without having a degree in a science. There are plenty of coaches out there that are history majors and philosophy majors and such that are excellent track coaches. Yet there's also, I get that understanding of, well, you're leading other student athletes. You should be the model for that. You should have the degree that you're trying to lead them towards a degree as well. What do you think about that?
It's true that like there's such a wide variety of degrees. You know what I mean? Like coaching is really a degree earned in the school of hard knocks, not
experience,
through an academic path. And that was one, your question about modeling is like, that was one thing that was presented to me was, what type of example are we setting to these young people that they need to pursue this, or have this done and completed to achieve what they want to achieve? And, I guess that's a really hard question to answer, because, I don't know. The way I look at it is I had the exact same amount of experience that anybody else has before their first job. You know what I mean? Virtually none. Like they had that, you have to evaluate a person, not their credentials. You have to evaluate a fit, not a degree, with someone in your organization or your institution or your team. And I think that they did that. I think they realized that the things that they valued and what they wanted to see grown as a program, and kind of how that fits into the overall university, like went beyond something as simple as a piece of paper. And so I was very, very grateful for them. And, in regards to kind of the model for my team, is like, I guess it really just comes down to like passion and perseverance. Like those are really the two only things, that really matter, I think, in anything that we do. And I had a passion for coaching, and I was willing to kind of persevere through that and with that. And, I was lucky enough to express how well I could recruit, how well I could coach and bring people together. I think that, gave them the willingness to kind of, I guess, call it maybe a trial run or trial period while I was getting my degree done. And then after that, it was pretty much, I guess, all copacetic,
So don't say smooth sailing. It's never smooth sailing.
Yeah. It was just, but I mean, it was in line with, where anyone else would be, so.
And was the getting degree a condition of continuing with the job, where they're like, hey, all right, we're willing to take a shot, but man, you got to do some classes. You got to get your degree.
Yes, absolutely. So that was, and then just like navigating that was a challenge too, because some folks didn't want me in like the kind of everyday, undergrad classes. Right. Some folks wanted me to be more in a night school format, or in an independent study format. And my stance on it was like, I'm the one who has to handle any type of stigma with this, directly. And so let's just find the way to move, like for me to move towards graduation, in the best process possible for me to get the degree that I want, and do well within the classes that I'm taking and, make an impact in them. And so, so I did a combination. I did some as kind of independent study. I did some actually sitting in the undergrad classes with, a bunch of younger teenagers, and I did some in our adult accelerated program, as well. So I was able to kind of, work through those, multiple options there and, get it done.
Your athletes?
I don't think I did. The team was the team was very small back then.
The odds were low.
Yes, the odds were certainly low. So no, not that, not directly.
Yeah.
And so I think that helped. And I wasn't very comfortable talking about it with anyone.
Sure.
Really, and probably until this year. Like there's even some alums and some of my athletes who graduated, that you kind of have that, okay, they're 22 now and they graduated, and you kind of let go of all the, the secrets, that
right.
they can hear now that they're a graduate. And, but this was one that it's been hard for me. And I pretty much finally, I guess, probably in the last year, as students have asked, or, people always ask me like, oh, so I see you got your degree at UD. Did you run at UD? Like, no, I didn't. They're like, tell me more. And so like, I'm more open to kind of expressing it because, I don't know. I just, it's how it happened. And so I can't change that. And, like I said, I'm grateful, and, people can now judge. I guess maybe it's because people can now judge based on my performance as opposed to my credentials, and when I was hired. And so I guess I feel more comfortable talking about it.
Well,
so.
I certainly don't think you have anything to be ashamed of. Again, it's a great lesson, really, in the two words that you said there: passion and persistence. You could easily still be a high school part-time coach, because you probably couldn't teach, obviously, without a degree, or working in someone else's business or owning your own business and still contributed to society. And yet you stuck your neck out there and went and really humbled yourself at that age to come back and be taught and get a degree, man. I think you should be applauded for that, man. I know it's been taking you a long time to maybe process that, but definitely something to be proud of. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Doing these podcasts and interviewing different coaches, a lot of them I know, and some of them I know really well. But my favorite part is learning new things. Every one that I've interviewed so far, I've learned something new that I had no idea. That's my one for you so far.
Well, good.
So 9 years at Dubuque, all as the head coach.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yep.
What's it been? So that was your first time as a head coach of a college, obviously, because your first college job. What have you learned in the 9 years? How are you doing things differently today than you did the first year as it relates to the leader of your own program?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I'll tell you like that, I feel like there are more adjustments, evolution that needs to occur now than even has occurred over the 9 years we've been doing this. But I had virtually no college experience in recruiting, but my business was, basically sports performance and fitness sales. So, I mean, there's a concept of recruiting there, and but I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea really what I was doing. And the biggest, I guess, look at it, and one of the most challenging things for me in my career is I don't feel like I was ever part of, like, for a long-standing period, I was never part of a championship program. So, in high school, we won a couple football games. When I was coaching, we won a championship once. When I was at Whitewater, we went to the national title game, but I was only there as a student assistant. So, like, I never was ever part of something that I could see this is how you create long-term success. And so for literally 9 straight years, and even today, and even tomorrow, it is trial and error. It is just constant trial and error. And the things that I tried a lot of in the beginning was to be very, very, I guess, strict, organized, very, very structured, much more to how I coached high schoolers. And over time, I have moved towards more of a, allow the team to guide how we want this to go and like who we want to be, and kind of give them more umbrella overarching direction and leadership, and allow like young adults to grow into adults and allow that growth to be kind of part of our vision and purpose as a program. And I can tell you that going through that, even hearing directly from them, is like, I don't think that was like, as far as I went with that, I think it's time to go back to more structure, more direction. And it's really hard finding a balance, because like I'm a firm believer in both, like when you're talking about developing everything from a technical skill to like a communication skill or leadership, like more of the soft skills. I know we're not supposed to use the term soft skill, but like I think all those things are learned better organically. But the process in which it takes to have those learned organically takes longer than the time that I get with my athletes. And so, this is, the changes are going to go more towards like being much more direct with much kind of stricter guidelines and expectations, and letting them find their own kind of freedom within that level of discipline, rather than giving them freedom and hope we find discipline, I guess. And so that's really the biggest thing that I've learned from a kind of a global thought, or more of a holistic thought with our team and our leadership. But some of the important, very important lessons and changes that we've made from year one to now. The first thing that we did was we needed to get people involved. And so like I said, the team was small. We only had 2 seniors. And so when we went to recruiting, like it did not matter if you could run or jump or throw or chew gum and even get on the bus at the same time. And we needed a team. Like we needed to have people who were excited about being a part of who we were. And so in year 3 at UD, we had 105 on the roster to start the season. And so now I will tell you, like the biggest thing that happened with that is many of the folks that were initially excited about being a part of track and field, when they weren't necessarily serious about being an athlete, or were really able to contribute on a championship level as an athlete, even though so many folks that I've coached have made such like different and bigger impacts on our program over the years, you realize that it's a lot harder for them to sustain a 9-month season, basically a year-round commitment, and to invest 4 years of their life towards track and field goals or track and field purpose. And so retention was not great with a lot of the athletes who weren't serious athletes. And so over time, we have changed our recruiting kind of threshold and our emphasis and focus on impact performers when we recruit. And so kind of I would say the middle of those 9 years, we spent a lot of time and energy on really, really good athletes. And that as well was a big challenge, because it was kind of at the expense or without kind of too much depth and thought at the person and the teammate that they were. And so now the biggest things that I tell all of my recruits that come on campus, all the folks who want to try out for the team every year, and even those people who are kind of being challenged themselves with where they are in this process as an athlete on our team, that the most important criteria for you that I'm going to evaluate you on and being a part of our team is how good of a teammate are you. The second most important criteria is how much of a contribution can you make to the team. So not going all the way back to like letting everyone on the bus, but going back to the fact that we need people who are great teammates, great ambassadors, just great people who are going to help grow what we're trying to do as a team. But we also at the end of the year are evaluated in the simplest form of the rules of our sport. And that's whoever scores the most points wins. And so you have to be a great teammate, and you have to be able to contribute on the track. And so that's really kind of how things have evolved for me, and what I've learned over time is that we can't sacrifice the teammate for the points, and we can't sacrifice points just to have a big team. We've got to be in a position to be a family, and a family that competes really, really hard on Saturdays.
So what I heard over the 9 years, and as the program evolves, there should be evolving motives and goals. I heard when you first got there, you were in bodies on the team mode. I don't, like you said,
Yes.
you can't, you said
warm bodies was said to
right,
me a
right,
lot
right.
of times. Like,
You you made it funny. Most people say chew gum and walk at the same time. You at least moved it one step further and said chew gum and get on the bus. So at least you're already thinking about getting
you
to a
add
meet.
steps. You add steps to the equation, and it's a bigger
Right.
dynamic. So
So you
there's a
go
challenge
from,
there.
all right, we just need people. And then it sounded like you transitioned to, okay, well, we are track, we want to win. So then it sounded like you went to more stats focused recruiting. Oh, okay, this kid can run the 100-meter hurdles in this kid can long jump this, etc. And then you evolved. And I think this is an important step, as I've spoken with coaches around the country and even throughout my own former coaching career, is now there is an aspect of that iron sharpens iron. So if I have a bad piece of iron, it doesn't matter how fast they are, it ruins the other four athletes, because that's what we're talking about here. And then we overall are not as good as we could have been if this kid was just a tenth of a second slower, but a better person, a better teammate. That's interesting. So how has that evolved? What results have you seen in regards to your placing in conference, nationally? Has that path followed upwards as well?
Well, our university hadn't won a conference championship since the 60s in track and field. And in 2017, our men won the indoor conference championship. And then 2018, we were able to repeat, go back to back. So we won 2 indoor conference championships on the men's side. Our women have finished as high as 3rd, and they were a perennial dead last program for a long time. And so, last year indoors, our men were top 10 in the nation at the national meet, and our women were top 10 outdoors at the national meet. They were 9th. But what I'll tell you is, like, those 2 years that we won the men's title in conference, we were still more on the contributor on the track, not good enough of a teammate situation. And that's really what challenged, me, in 2018, that second year when we repeated as conference champs indoors, we had some issues at the conference meet in the hotel. And it made me realize, after we had won that conference championship, I didn't feel like we won anything. I felt I was frustrated, angry, upset, disappointed, and I felt completely let down by some young people who I trusted. And I realized that, there is far more to this than winning the championship. And if I can't even be excited or happy, and our coaching staff can't be excited or happy, and our team has to now be, like, ashamed of things that happened through the process of, and kind of casting a shadow over a championship, like, we have to do it right for it to be what it truly can be. Like, and so to actually feel this, feel what could have been this excitement of winning a second, and back-to-back conference championship, and to have it not even feel good, to be completely honest with you, made me realize that we needed to start back from square one. We were going to build this the right way. And when we win, we will know that it's because we did everything right.
So you had to take a step back.
Not
yeah. Wow.
Yes.
So
winning back-to-back conference championships actually made me realize things that we were doing wrong, not things that we were doing right. And so, it was, we had, we've had some folks that haven't yet realized that the type of person that we are does matter. Not just, how well we compete. And, I know the amount of hours and time that coaches put in, and the amount of time and energy that athletes put in. Like, when you're surrounded with people who you want to be around, when you're surrounded with people who are gracious and appreciate what they have, and people who truly believe in each other and fight for each other, it's such a better experience, and I think such a greater and more, like, everlasting experience to fight through that, regardless of the outcome. And so I was not willing to sacrifice that anymore, regardless of how many points we could score, And so that's where we're at. And that's kind of how we've revamped our recruiting to address this issue. We've revamped our kind of how we handle our team and our team meetings and our team leadership. So there's a lot of things that we've adjusted to basically say at the end of the day, we really love doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? So like, and I think once we can all get everybody on board and we can start getting, I think we'll get better people to buy into that. Then when championships come, we know that we truly won this championship because we had a team collectively that bought into what we were trying to do, and we earned it. We didn't just have some people who were there simply to do track, some people who were just simply there for themselves, and some people who, just didn't, really care for the things that mattered. And it's going to make a championship mean so much more when we get there again.
So they say that, you're a collection of the 5 people that are closest to you when it comes to your coaching and your coaching philosophy, and really for you, Gunny, your coaching growth, specifically over these 9 years as the leader of the program there. Who are some mentors that you have, not even that you've had, that you had now that, you talk to, you listen to, you bounce off ideas? Who's been influential in this growth for you?
That's such a great question, and I'm so glad you asked it because it's those people that are also those 5 people that are also so close to us that are the ones that we really mention the least, isn't it?
Right.
Like they don't get the credit because they always get the conversation.
I think it's in their nature to be that way too, though. You know what I'm saying? They're not looking for credit, but they absolutely deserve it.
Yeah. So the person that I would start with, so Jake Malm is our throws coach, and he's our recruiting coordinator, and he started at UD as a graduate assistant. So he threw jab at Minnesota, and so graduated from there, came to UD to do his master's degree, and then we were lucky enough to offer him a full-time job after he was done with his 2 years as a grad assistant. And so we literally went from scoring 0 points in the throws to last year we won outdoors. We won 7 of the 8 throwing events at conference.
Holy cow.
And he's had 2 national champions, a male and a female, both in the shot put, national runner up, and he's just done an incredible job. But he is someone who has truly helped show, and I think track is usually this unfortunately this culmination of a bunch of individual coaches about their individual athletes or individual event groups that just happen to come together on Saturdays. And there's not this collective pursuit. The really good programs do this really, really well because they understand how everyone coming together can help win titles. And that's when you see these perennial powerhouses doing what they do. But he really helped kind of springboard me and my kind of confidence towards building a true team rather than being a head coach with a couple assistant coaches who just coach their own things and do their own things. And, and just his just such incredible level of commitment to the program and commitment to helping our team be the best it could be as a team with what he's done through his recruiting, what he's done through the throws group, and how he's changed their impact and understanding. Give you an example. So it's hey coach, what is our chance of winning a conference championship this year? We talked about this a couple weeks ago at our indoor meeting. It's school X is going to score over 100 points just in the distance events. So we've got to make up that difference. And it's they have how many events and we only have 2? It's until we go 1, 2, 3, 4 in both the shot and the weight throw, we haven't done enough. And that's his stance. And so he has helped be my rock and my right-hand man and my biggest supporter in making sure that we can push team in a sport that really is so broken when it comes to operating as a team. And so that's, so he's such a, he's just a great, kind of, I guess, what's the term, kind of just great person to bounce ideas off of. And, he's made me a better coach. He's made me a better head coach. He's made our program a better program. And just having him in the office every day. And also when he's out at practice, just knowing that you have someone there who is pushing to gain every piece of growth, make every benefit they can, and to move their athletes towards being better leaders through that process it's really, really like uplifting. And so when it comes to our program and our team, he's been there this is his seventh year. So he's been there through most of this. And, and when you talk about like what Kobe Bryant says about finding excellence and applying that to your life, and being a true champion, like that, he's a man who lives that, and he breeds that and grows that within his group. And so he's really helped me to be a better coach.
I don't know him as well as I know you, but I've met Jake several times, and I know what kind of program he came from with the Golden Gophers up there. But one of the words that you said to describe him is exactly how I would describe him from the outside, and that's the Rock. That not seeing him coach, I don't know his excitement level at coaching. But like he seems like the type of person who is not going to get too high, but at the same time, and equally as important, is not going to get too low. He's going to be there nice and steady in the bad times and the good times, and seems like would be I bet he was a awesome teammate at Minnesota. It has to have started earlier. It couldn't have just started when he began coaching. He had to have something imprinted on him of just, being there for other people, and being steady. So I could, that word, when you said that, Rock, was like, oh yeah, that's Jake Malm from everything I can see. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. I mean, he stays solid, through everything. And I'm much more of an extrovert and emotionally driven.
Yep, I'd agree.
Which I certainly, like, I think both of those things are needed, but, he's, like I said, he's helped keep me grounded, and through all the challenges and everything that I've been through in these 9 years of kind of growing as a young head coach, to have a friend in someone like that you get a chance to see and work with every day. He's made my career better. He's made my life better. And so, I can mention 5 people. I've got 4 more certainly to talk about, but if you want, like, there's one at the top of the list.
That's
and that's
awesome.
Him. So
let's go to the other side of the pendulum, because, you talked about Jake was a grad assistant there and was lucky enough, the school was lucky enough, and he was lucky enough, to come on as a full-time coach. Who on the more mature side, is there a coach that has been coaching for 20, 30, 40 years that you look up to, that you bounce ideas off of?
Yeah, absolutely. So our head men's soccer coach, Brad Johnson, he's someone who, realistically, it's probably really been only in the last couple years, but kind of other, typically, like, it's usually just water cooler type talk and discussion, but, we, have beers together, hang out, and have gotten to know each other really, really well over time. But just through, like, more in-depth conversations, as kind of the landscape of Division III recruiting and Division III athletics and things have started to change, our conversations over the last couple of years have really shifted to more like proactive measures and evaluation of ourselves. And I've learned so much about Brad and what he's doing to create champions in his sport. And, even though it's a smaller group, it's men only, and it's, what you'd call a team sport, like the things that he applies and what he does with his program are universal in terms of kind of building consistency and building success, in my opinion. And so, but both in coaching and in life, he's been someone. He's just two doors down the hall from me in our office building, and so he's been someone as well. And so, gosh, I don't even know if he's older than me, but he's been coaching at the college level certainly longer than I have. And he's had success and won some championships and has built some incredible young men. And so he's certainly someone. Our head women's softball coach at UD as well, Jeff Lamb, he just came on staff a year and a half ago. And so he's only been at I guess I don't even know if you can call this season a season, but he's been there for 2 seasons. And he was actually in town and at Clark, but his approach as well, and he coaches women only, and so being able to kind of take what I've learned and what I hear from them and just our daily conversations and bouncing ideas off each other has helped kind of shape and formulate what we're trying to build and what we want to build, that we can help make a better impact in our program. And so outside of that, I would say like there's Dan Paff, that name. I mean, and nobody in track and field doesn't know that name. And I don't know if it's even cliche to mention him as a mentor. But Dan has been someone I've had the ability to kind of reach out to through Altus or
That's
World Athletic
right.
Center when they started.
You did a few
on,
of those, right?
And then
yeah,
but also Kyle Herholzer, who has kind of brought Dan on, and they do this coaches council. It's a monthly kind of call, has kind of opened up the doors to kind of talk more with Dan. And the big area that I think everybody reaches out to Dan about is usually like technical acumen. It's sprints and jumps and stuff like that. Dan has been the person who has helped shape my opinion and stance on mindset and sports psychology. And I've used so much of what he has taught me and what we have discussed in educating my athletes on that. And like the kind of his stat or quote is like, when you get to the Olympic final, everybody's fast in that moment. You know what I mean? So it's like you put not, 8 guys in a heat that are running 9.8 and 100. The separator is mental skills. That the big separator is mental skills. And so he's helped me kind of shape or shift my philosophy towards making sure that we're more holistic with what we do and providing education to our athletes about how to approach what they do with the right mindset, not just with the right skill or technique. And then another man would be James Thomas. He's the jumps coach at Texas Tech. So he is I'm doing the high jump masters endorsement, and he's been my mentor for that. But like, there's been so much more discussion around him and like how he believes in what they do as a program, and what Texas Tech is doing as an overall team, and so just and being a parent and everything else. And so, I mean, those are really kind of the couple close ones on campus, and then 2 of the ones abroad that I think have kind of shaped how I I guess they kind of more shape my accountability. Like, those are the people, when you're talking about those 5 people, like those are the people you think about, like how is Coach Johnson going to look at me making this decision with my team? You know what I mean? How is Coach Lamb? What is Jake going to think when I send this email out? You know what I mean? Like, what would Dan say if he saw how I coached in this moment? Or what would James think if like I chose to do this instead of that right now with what's going on? And so, those guys in terms of like their level of ethics and morality and just overall grasp on the bigger picture is why I really truly appreciate and love those guys, because there is more to this than just coaching. There is more to this than just track and field or our sport. And they all believe that and help me move forward when that's really sometimes a challenging task, when you could just easily go to practice and teach long jump. But the truth is, you got to teach life, and life doesn't score you points always at the conference meet. But your bonuses and your future get, they get, your life actually hinges on that. So they've helped me kind of stay focused on what really matters.
That's a good point you talked about. We could just go to practice and coach long jump. And a lot of times when we're having conversations as coaches, we're talking about our top long jumper, top 5K person. We're always talking about the top athletes. And when you think about some of the top business people, so life goes on after college athletics, and you think about some of the top athletic directors, top business owners, things like that were involved in track. It's rare that they actually were the top athlete as well. It's most of the time they were just part of the team and were just happy to be there. But obviously that coach or coaching staff imparted in them about contributing to the team and to life outside of just being the best long jumper and things like that. I'm thinking about like the guy that is the now CEO of Top Golf, who is now a Masters vaulter and things like that. And he was not an athlete at all, but top athlete. And but obviously coaches such as yourself imparted on him about being a part of the team and contributing and being a member of society in a positive way. And, that guy is now, he's running one of the top hottest companies there are with Topgolf. So just interesting.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned James Thomas. I kind of feel like he is one of the most underrated coaches out there on the Division I level. I think a lot of those Texas Tech guys, they kind of get lost out in Lubbock and people don't think about them very much. And I was so happy when they won the national title. But James specifically, I've always kind of admired him from afar. He's quiet, does his job, does it really, really well. Had a conversation with his boss, Wes Kitley, I think it was last year at Texas Relays. And, Wes just sung his praises. He's like, man, in fact, he said this about his entire coaching staff, and it was kind of telling the future because they won the title that year. But he was like, I fought and I continue to fight tirelessly to keep those guys and gals here in Lubbock. He goes, they're awesome. He goes, they go other places, they're going to win titles. If I keep them here, we're going to win titles. So that's interesting that you mentioned James. I love that. That's awesome. So you talked about coaches and mentors being your rock, and accountability, which is maybe a word that we don't talk about enough in coaching and society overall. I know your family life, your family. I've met them a few times. Talk to me about what your wife and your kids do for you as it relates to coaching.
Oh, what a great question. So my wife has been in higher education for over 20 years. And so she's been a director of admission. And so she's knows so much more than I do. And she is just so much more tuned in and a veteran at all the things that I am trying to find a way to work through and get better at. And so, when it comes professionally, my wife, like, she's my go-to. She's my
kind
proofreader.
Of a rock
star. Oh my gosh, and the craziest thing, so we might get on a tangent here, but I suppose
that's
we're coaches,
what we do.
And that's what our life is, just a bunch of tangents thrown together. So, she works, higher education hours. I know some people might think professors, I don't know, but I'm talking like your 50 plus hour work week. Okay. She does all of that. She handles literally everything at home. She also comes to every single one of our home track meets and manages our coaches' hospitality, sells apparel. Okay. She travels to every single track meet that she can, that's within kind of a 2-hour radius. And we're a D3 program and regional. So majority of those, our meets are that way. And so weekends are spent still with track. And then when it's national meets or long distance meets, she even tries to find ways to do that as well. And that's not even it's not even like me. I don't even say like, honey, I would love to have you at this meet, but I realize that's important for me to say. But she's just there and she doesn't ever ask if I want her to be there. She doesn't ever ask. She just knows that she knows that being there allows me to be better at what I do. And I've never had to say that to her. I've never had to ask that to her, although I have thanked her so many times, because I realize in the moment, when things get tough, I talked about that conference meet a couple years ago, and, with stuff that's going on right now with, having to have these conversations with our seniors whose careers may be done, she's always the one who is there, and I come home to or stay home with because I don't want to go in on that given day because of what's going on. And she is the one who helps me through everything that I have to do, and somehow finds a way to still get everything else done that's on her list. And so when you say rock star, you are right. It is, it's not superhuman because she does it, which means we can all do it.
Yeah,
but
good.
she does it, and she gets it done. And on top of that, she's also raising 3 great kids, 3 incredible kids. And so being able to be in a job and do what we do for the hours that we do it, and spending so much more time with other people's kids than our own, and usually dealing with and working through teaching moments with other people's kids more than our own. It is such a wonderful, wonderful situation to be able to know that, in my life, I have the best person on earth to be able to take care of me essentially and take care of anything and everything that matters most to me, and that she does it with me. And so, and then to be completely honest, like our kids are great too. Like my stepdaughter, Taylor, she goes to UD. She's one of our team managers. So she chose to come, be involved. She never did track. She was a softball player. And, but she helps out with recruiting events and home track meets and things like that. And then, Evan, my stepson, who is a freshman at UD, he's thought about possibly coming back to the sport. He was a good athlete. He was a state qualifying athlete in high school, and he stepped away from track this year. But, those two are just such great big brother, big sisters to Dash, our 5-year-old. And so when you have a family that cares about the things that matter and people at home that when, mom and dad are gone and the big kids got to watch the little kids, or, when, we have to work through things like the challenging things that we're going to be dealing with here with kind of the state of our nation. Like it just, they give me a reason to come home, and they give me a reason to be better at what I do when I leave home. And so I want to
make sure we don't gloss past something that you just said. I want to make sure everybody hears this and knows about this. You got a 5-year-old. Say his name again.
Yeah, I suppose like the real celebrity can't just like have a brief mention. So Dash.
Now you're not a chef, so this isn't a dash of pepper. You're not a grammar major, so
no.
This is a dash, a colon, a semicolon. This is dash like a sprint, a dash, right?
Yeah.
First of all, how did she let you name your child Dash?
Oh man. That's funny. I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't know if I ever had won anything, and now I'm reminded that there's at least one thing that I've won. Oh man. No, we didn't know if it was gonna be a boy or a girl. And we had 2 male names. It was going to be Dash or Max. And so she actually allowed Dash to make it to the final 2.
Was
so
Max,
he's in the championship
was Max because of like a bench press Max, or was it just Max like Maxwell?
No. I don't know. I like, we both liked kind of single syllable, like just simple names. And
your name's Chad, so I get it.
Dash. Yes. So Dash worked, and Max worked, but Max is kind of like this like alpha gladiator name. You know what I mean? I think about Maximus and whatever else, and then Dash. And so, he's born. We found out it's a boy.
Names? Was there
Oh, good. Oh, we had none. That was the challenging thing. It's like we had no girls' names, so we were really, really lucky that when he was born, that it was a he, because he might still not have a name. We might still be calling him Baby 3 or something like that, or like like by initials or whatever. But anyway, so the nurse takes me into the other room to weigh him, and she says, "So what do I write down as his name?" And I said, "Well, I can't make that decision right now. Like, she's in the other room. What are you thinking? Asking me this? You're trying to get me in trouble." So, but he was born. He was born early, and he was a kind of not emergency, but scheduled C-section, because he wasn't growing anymore in the womb, and so he was born 4 pounds 12 ounces. And so Max just didn't fit. Max is like a big German Shepherd attack dog kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So when Melissa and I came back in the room, and maybe she was because she was still, I don't know, under medication. Imagine. I don't know. But I said, so honey, what do you want to do? And she goes, "It's Dash." And so, so Dash was born. But the reason Dash made the final cut is because track is the thing that brought us together. I met Melissa at the University of Dubuque, and it's because of track that led me there. It's because of track that kept me there. It's because of track that I met her, and it's because of track that essentially we're together. And so his life as a track baby came to be because of track and field. And so we couldn't really name him anything other than a track name. And so, so
that's awesome.
Dash is who he is.
I didn't realize, the culmination of all this is that UD really is a family affair. That's awesome.
It is. It absolutely is. And he did 4.5 years.
Oh, that's right.
Too. So he did his first year of pre-K. Right. So Taylor, Evan, are both at school at UD.
Yeah.
Dash did 4.5 years at UD, and Melissa and I both work at UD, and we both got both our degrees from UD. Melissa got her undergrad and her master's from UD too. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
yeah,
and
we're a Spartan
seen
family for sure.
videos of Dash. I tell you what, for a kid who was born under 5 pounds, you wouldn't know it. That kid he lives up to his name, Dash. It seems like he's always dashing somewhere.
Yes, he is. I love how you brought up a dash of this or a dash of that, because I think we love to cook too. But there is nothing in small quantities for it. Everything is in abundance with him, whether it's energy, activities, excitement. So yeah, he loves life, and I, as a father, I need to make sure I do everything I can with, not getting enough time to spend at home with him, to make sure that I continue to breathe that into him. And, the truth is he breathes a lot of life into me. And so I'm glad he keeps me young, and, I'm glad he's got, kind of a positive outlook, because he's going to need that, and that's going to serve him well as, he grows up. So,
that's a good
Dash.
segue. So it is, in the world of podcast, you record one day, but you don't know, someone could be listening to this from a year from now, 10 years from now. So in today's world, it is March 18th, 2020. And for anybody who's listening to this within days of this recording knows that, life changed last Thursday. Everybody, most people were at their NCAA national championships. You were down in North Carolina. I was over in Albuquerque, and not only did the indoor championships get canceled, but essentially the rest of the season got canceled. So you are, like most other coaches, I think 99% of the coaches are in the same boat. You have no season. The outdoor season is canceled officially, and sometimes it's unofficially right now, but it's a matter of hours, it seems, before everything will be officially canceled. There officially is no NCAA championships. Your kids are probably, kids meaning the student part of your kids, are probably doing remote classes for the rest of the semester, which means, and I know NCAA has a moratorium on recruiting in regards to on-campus visits, or you going to visit other kids. You can still call and text, things like that. So the world is different in just 1 week. What are you doing right now as a coach that's different? Like how are you adjusting to this new reality?
God, what a good question. So we as a staff, we've already, I invested in Zoom, and we're doing our kind of staff meetings remotely. We're doing everything. Like, the most important thing that we're going to do is
you're
connected.
At home right now. All the coaches are at home. Okay. Is that mandated, or is that because it's spring break, or you're a track coach? So
no, our university said yesterday that, kind of gave us the note that students are going to be asked to move off campus or move out of campus, go back home. We're going to do distance learning for the rest of the semester. And basically, like, for any employees who have the ability to work remotely, can work remotely essentially with approval. And so, maybe the majority of our job is remote anyway, whether we're at the track or on the recruiting trail or whatever else. But, our coaches, our staff, we have already been meeting remotely via Zoom, and we have already put together a recruiting plan for how we're going to address the next 2 weeks, because we don't have practices every day like we typically would. And the biggest thing that, the first kind of point of business was how, like, we need to reach out and communicate with our current team, first our seniors, and then we need to reach out to all of our committed athletes who are also seniors. And I think, a lot of discussion is about realizing that, these seniors have had their senior year essentially stripped away from them, and at the college level, but every single high school senior is having the exact same thing happen. And so basically the biggest thing that we talked about is, like, we need to make sure that we are there for our athletes, there for each other, there for our recruits, and kind of work through this initial kind of time of just kind of dealing with this kind of horrible news, like this really heartbreaking, heart-wrenching situation where everything you've worked for, and all the goals that you've set and what you hope to achieve, for some will not be achieved, period. Like, that's a hard thing to deal with. But for many, like, realizing that now all of a sudden you have to wait for something far beyond, tomorrow or far beyond this spring season. And so that's the biggest thing that we talked about, is like, we're going to make sure we are there for them, we educate them, and we help them through what's going on right now. But we have to realize that, like, our programs, like our creed, our mission, and like our intentions don't change. Like, our goal is still to earn a championship. Our goal is still to impact our community. Our goal is still to be better leaders. And so we're going to take the time and do it how we can. And so trying to find ways to deliver that stuff remotely, and basically just finding ways to make sure that we can get back to that. The most important thing we can do is get back to some level of common routine, normalcy. And so that's what's going to help people cope with this. That's what's going to help us get through this. And so we're trying to provide that for each other, and we're trying to provide that for our team, and, going to work to try and provide that for our recruits as well. And so that's really what we've done initially. And so a lot of things we can't really think about or address because we don't have enough information. Like, we don't know if we're going to be allowed to have campus visits on campus yet fully. You know what I mean? And the situation is only going to get worse. So it's like, things are going to change too. Like, this is such a ever changing situation, and will be for months. And so we're going to take things in stride. We're going to be as proactive as we can, and we're going to keep the people that are most important at the heart of what we do. And that's our team. And that's those who are going to be a part of our team in the future. And that's us as coaches, as we help kind of take care of each other, because realistically, really, coaches, the truth is, the only thing that they want to do is go to practice, And so, the one thing, recruiting is great because it's the most important thing we do to build the future of our team. The administrative tasks are great because we can do things like spend money at Gill, or, book our buses to meets or whatever else. But all that stuff's gone. All we can do now, the aspects of what we love to do is going to practice. That's gone. And so there's a lot of coaches, who are out there and, talking about how our athletes can cope with this and trying to find ways to build some healthy situations, and even issues with mental health and what we can do to move forward. But this is going to be a big challenge on coaches too, because that one most enjoyable aspect of their day, practice, is gone. And it's not just track coaches. It's every spring sport coach. It's every fall sport coach, because all of their spring seasons are gone. It's like, and so we have to find a way to work together to keep ourselves motivated and keep ourselves pushing towards delivering an experience without being able to connect in person. And it's going to be very, very hard, but I'm grateful to have a really good coaching staff, and to have great athletes who will be forward thinking and will kind of dive into this, dig in where they need to, and find ways to overcome. So that's, I hope that answered your question, but it's, I have no idea what to expect. So I'm just trying to kind of take it one by one and be as proactive as we can with it. And
I think you're doing a good job. There is no playbook here. So when you say, I hope that answered your question. I don't know that there is an answer. These are questions that, again, there is no playbook, so I don't know that there is an answer. But one of the hardest things to do is to look beyond what is right in front of you, right? So one of the things that you talked about is, you mentioned that, it's not just track coaches, it's our other spring sport coaches, and even our fall coaches who, while football season hasn't been canceled now, there's no guarantees. Again, there is no playbook here. We don't know what's going to be written. You also mentioned, one of the first things that hit me when the news came down last Thursday, my immediate thought was the college seniors, that, oh man, they're, first of all, they are right here at the facility. They don't get a chance to try to accomplish the goals that they set, and now outdoor season. And so are they just done? You mentioned high school seniors as well. So not only are they faced with the prospect that they're not going to be allowed to compete at their conference and regionals and sectionals and maybe state to accomplish their goals. But, a lot of times that is also their way of earning scholarship or earning a position on a team. So you lose that aspect too. You go another layer. I know that you guys have been doing community work with the Special Olympics. Talk to me about that and how that opportunity is not available for those well-deserving boys and girls.
Oh my, Mike. Yeah. Now you opened me to, again, like you said, another layer. It's so we wanted to get our team more invested and involved in our community. And so we did a Special Olympics unified meet this spring. And I certainly want to talk about how great and incredible that was and not focus on the negative here. But part of that, and then they came back and did practices at our facility, was time trials. They came and did time trials so that they could build towards their actual Special Olympics championships and their events and both community and state and even regional and national events that they were going to do as well. And so it's like, there's a lot of folks that are being affected by this in a lot of ways. And although it is heartbreaking, it is heart-wrenching. But the one thing that we have to start accepting and realizing is that's the way it is, and we've got to find a way to move forward. And I don't mean to be unmotivating with that or negative with that, but to kind of look back and think about something that I know all of our athletes and they express such immense excitement and gratitude towards this opportunity. So we did a Special Olympics unified meet, and if speaking to any other track coaches out there, anybody listening to this in the future, what an absolute great way to connect our sport to make a difference in people's lives. So Special Olympics unified meet means that a Special Olympian and an able-bodied track athlete compete together.
Oh, that's what unified. I was going to ask what unified means. Okay. So yeah.
And so we did broad jump, long jump, softball throw, turbo jav. We did 2x200 meter relays because we were indoors. So we did full lap each. And I'm trying to think of what else I'm missing.
Yeah.
Shot. Did we do? No, we did. We might've done shot put. And just it was such an incredible day. Just to see how much sport and competition excites somebody's life. And more importantly, why we do it at the end of the day, the actual human connection we build with it, just seeing the looks on my own athletes' faces with it too, And so, just kind of, I guess this is kind of a weird segue. We're kind of on a different note, but this is something that we got to do this year that I'm so glad that we got to do before, everything ended, but, and something that we continue to do moving forward in the future. But it's something that just, it really helps us realize, those are the things we do. Why come in on a Sunday when, and sometimes, you know how college kids are. Why am I up? Why am I awake? Why am I here? Why am I not sleeping? Why am I not playing video games? Why am I not, or even the good students, why am I not working on homework and studying right now? And then after we did this event, they were like, this is why, so it's tough when sport is that outlet to connect people and build relationships and give people the motivation to not just make great decisions in sport, but to make great decisions beyond sport. And so it's really, really important that we find as many ways as we can right now to connect and do the things that we can to keep that momentum going. And so, so I know this is kind of, if somebody's listening, this is kind of an odd shift in kind of the conversation, but it's, we did that, and that impacting our community mattered. And matters to us, and kind of the community is all kind of locked in their houses now. And so we've still got to find a way to do that. And I sent an email out to my team, kind of, how every CEO is sending this COVID-19 update, and so all those people are wondering, how did I get on coach's email list today? But it was that one time you bought that one thing at that one store and gave me your email address, so I sent them a note, and I tied our creed and our mission to what's going on. And I told them, what we set out to do has not changed. The things that we've earned are still earned. And now our team, because our team first is the first part of our creed. And that's kind of our first rule. And I told them that like our team has now expanded from just each other to our family, our friends, and America. And we need to put our team first. And we need to make sure that we do the right thing to put our team in the best position to be successful. And so it doesn't matter. Like it's important that we understand like the lessons that we learn in sport that apply to life don't change because our season got canceled. It doesn't change because we can't have, March Madness bracket, stuff right now. I think that none of that changes. Do we miss a few games? Yes. But can we allow ourselves to miss the message and miss what's important? No. And so I'm just trying to connect that for them because it's so easy to get disconnected because of technology, which was our issue before, and now get disconnected because of a global pandemic. And so we need to find a way to stay connected.
First of all, I think it was really interesting what you just said right there. You said we can miss the things like March Madness and practice and competitions, but we can't allow ourselves to miss what's important that's in front of us, the team, the mission, the goals, etc. That's really, really important. Out of all the coaches that I've spoken with, and Lord knows through a career as a track coach and now in my career at Gill Athletics, I've spoken to literally thousands of coaches. The real good ones, and you're in this camp here, Gunny, that talk about you can only control what you can control. And so while the things in the past are the indoor champs being canceled, and honestly, even though the outdoor champs are May and June, those are canceled. So those are in the past. We can't control those things. So what do you have the ability to control? Your team and your coaching staff and your program's outlook for 21. You can start to control that as you prepare. Well, you have the option as a head coach, right? You can either prepare for 21 and make it better than what you thought 20 was going to be, or you can huddle in your office or home and lick your wounds and throw a pity party. And I'm not sure that helps anybody or anything at all. So I like that you're doing conference calls with your coaching staff, and as we navigate through this new normal until we can get back to the real normal that we used to have.
Yeah.
Earlier we were talking about, before we started recording, you were talking about using this time as a way to kind of take a step back and reflect on what's important to you, and that kind of goes with what we were just talking there. Maybe we'll make this our last segment. You're a rock star, man. We're 70 minutes in and still going. You're the kind of guy that I can learn so much from, that we could keep going this for 7 hours, but I know you do have some things you got to do today. But so what are the things that you're doing yourself and maybe counseling your team and coaching staff on taking a step back and working on something else? You obviously can't learn how to long jump better right now, or you can't go practice how to long jump better. So what are some things that you're doing to maybe reassess what you and your life and your team, and that includes your family, are working towards right now?
Well, I haven't gotten into full coach mode to kind of deliver those harsh messages or hard messages to the team. We've kind of focused on where we are now, and I've also tried to educate them a little bit on coronavirus, because I don't think that many people are educated. So I'm trying to have my young, especially when they're on kind of extended spring break, and with kind of the lack of, I think, a realistic lack of responsibility for younger people, knowing that they're not affected by this. I've really just tried to educate them on where we're at, and then help them understand that this is going to get a lot worse, and that it's going to be a while until it gets better. Because I still think people are thinking that the Iowa High School Association with a 4-week, suspension of track meets is somehow going to be the time frame of what this global pandemic does. You know what I mean? So helping them understand that there's a lot more to come with this, and that they need to start, accepting where we're at, and start helping make an impact how they can. and trying to get back to a normal schedule and working towards that. So, but the evaluation piece, like this shook me so hard. And it wasn't like, it wasn't the canceling of the indoor national meet that was as much of a challenge. It wasn't the fact that our outdoor season was canceled. It was the fact that literally, because I had 23 seniors at home that Thursday night when we got the note that weren't in the national meet, and they're finding out via Twitter that their college career either is over or could be over unless they decide to invest in another year of paying for school and another year of intense training and time and an energy commitment to being a track and field athlete. And it really, it made me think about, we talk all these cliches in coaching about, it's a game of inches, or, every centimeter counts, or, whatever. It's so obviously, an athlete misses qualifying for the national meet, say by 100th of a second or by a centimeter. And, we want to reflect back on that and say, hey, could you have eaten better, or could you have foam rolled a few more times, or could you have not drank or gone out partying? There's all these things that we can reflect on, but the truth is now we're not talking about a centimeter. We're not talking about an inch. We're not talking about 100th of a second. We're literally talking about a career. We're talking about the culminating final experience in every senior who doesn't get to have their senior day. We're talking about seniors who never get to realize those 4 years. Some freshmen are national champions. Some sophomores are national qualifiers. Some folks are conference champs however many times. But there are athletes who have invested 4 years just to find that growth and enough growth and that centimeter by centimeter experience just to get to a point where they can feel that it was all worth it. And so trying to put myself in their shoes and realize that all that they have worked towards, and they have probably put all of their eggs, every ounce of energy into this last final basket, and the basket's now gone. It's been stolen. It's not there. And so trying to just trying to help them through that, and help them understand that. And then realistically, the harsh message and evaluating, looking back, for me as a coach, what didn't I do? If for any point in time, I may never even see them again. You know what I mean? They could be back to home in California or back to home wherever else. And it's well, hey coach, we're not going to have graduation now. We're not going to have classes in person. And I'm not going to come back and pay another however many $1,000s to do my senior year of track. You know what I mean? So the relationship is just the relationship in which we knew is fractured. And so have I done enough for them in these last, years to give them an experience that can go beyond the track? And so moving forward, and I think that's what, I talked a little bit about this earlier about how my kind of coaching philosophy is shifting back towards a little bit more structure and discipline, and it's true. I am not going to allow folks to take excessive time to figure things out. We're going to figure things out quicker. We're going to get to where we need to quicker. And we're going to deepen the message and deepen the experience to be something that matters beyond their time at school, because nothing is guaranteed. Some athletes we know, are done after their freshman year because they don't want to do school. Some athletes are done because of an injury. And some athletes now we find out are done because of a global virus crisis. And so I am not willing or interested to feel ever again that I didn't do enough. And so that's what, I'm going to have a lot of weeks, a lot of months, moving forward to do this. And I frankly, I feel bad for my team next year because it's coming, but I'm going to hug them harder. I'm going to coach them harder. I'm going to love them harder. And I'm going to expect them to do the same. And it's because if what we do truly matters, And if we're truly going to miss this and be heartbroken when it's gone, we got to reevaluate and find out what we can do, what more we can do when we're in it, that if it is gone, like, we can have everything that we did together, everything that we learned, help make an impact beyond that time. And I owe that to my seniors.
I tell you,
I owe that to them.
That hits me hard when you talk about hug them harder, love them harder, coach them harder. I mean, that is a story of no regrets. When you're in it, be in it, so that if and when it's taken from you, because it's all taken from us at some point, whether it's eligibility exhausting, retirement, global pandemic, something, it's always going to be taken from you. So are you in the moment, giving it 100%, so that when you are done, you can have zero regrets, that you put it all in there, man. I couldn't have said it any better myself. That's awesome. That seems like a great place to stop right there. I'm not sure there's much more to add right there, my man. Chad, man, hey, really appreciate your time. I know while you may have more time for me right now than in the past, I wish you didn't. But I know it is an uncertain time. And I'm a huge believer in leadership and leaders. And I think when the chips are down, there's no more important time for the need for leaders. And so having you as a leader of the UD program and of your family and of the community there, they're lucky to have you. And I think as we continue to all learn on the fly as we go through this, we'll come out stronger if we just continue to look forward to what the future can be. And I think you had a lot of great words and encouragement there for others to hear. So I think you're going to have a positive impact with this podcast as well, man. So again, just can't say thank you enough for your time and energy today.
Mike, thank you so much. And I want to thank you specifically, but I also want to thank Gil, because you guys are just an organization that cares about coaches. And, you have taken, obviously, your time as a coach and truly applied it to being an incredible professional and colleague and friend. And to me specifically. And so I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for what you guys do. And I'm praying for all of us that we can move through this and go back to making an impact through sport.
That means the world to me. Again, I appreciate that so much, man. All right, well, go do what you do best. Go lead your family and your program and your kids, man.
Take care, Mike.
Brother. Well, hey there. If you've made it this far, really appreciate you joining us. I hope you enjoyed your time with Chad as much as I did. Again, what a trying time we all have as it relates to, entire seasons being ripped out from us, and then uncertainty of what the future is. I think the real takeaway there from Chad is that, you can't control what has happened in the past. You can only control what's in front of you and in the future. So, our word here at Gill Athletics is leadership to the future. What does 2021 look like? How can you make 2021 better than what you thought 2020 was even going to be? So again, really hope you enjoyed our time with Chad as much as I did. Make sure to subscribe to the Gill Athletics Connection podcast for future episodes. That way you're automatically notified when we publish a new one. And if you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, contact me at HURDLE@GillAthletics.com. That's right, it's hurdle@GillAthletics.com. In the meantime, really hope you feel led to share this podcast on your social media network of choice. We're not really doing any advertising on this. We want this to kind of be a viral word of mouth thing. So it would mean the world to me and to Gill Athletics personally if you would share this on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, what else do you listen to? Instagram, you name it. We'd really appreciate that. And join us next time when we once again connect you with another great track and field coach. Thanks for listening.